Hey guys, it's Trent and Simone, and today I'm here with Writing Tip Wednesdays. So today's writing tip is how to stay motivated when writing. Now, as writers, we tend to lose motivation. It comes easily, it goes easily. Sometimes we call it writer block. It's anything under the sun that keeps you from writing. So the first step into combating this is to isolate the problem. Now, there are numerous reasons why you can lose motivation, but they usually fall under these 4 categories. Number 1 is the reason you write. Number 2 is your priorities. Number 3 is self-doubt. And number 4 is boredom. Let's talk about number 1, the reason you write. There are 2 reasons why writers write. Number 1, it is the air that you breathe. You can do nothing else. When you look at the word writer in the dictionary, you see your face. Everything you do in life always leads back to writing. Number 2 is everything else. Now, everything else could include you want to get famous, you have something to say as a famous person, you have something to sell, you think there are big bucks in writing, you picked up the latest YA book and you were like, hoo-hoo, I could do this. You realize that self-publishing is a huge thing now, so you think that it is super easy to do, or that you think it is something that you can do, you want to make money at it. It's, cool. Now, I'm going to tell you something about motivation and those 2 specific things. If it's not something you do because it is your passion, it is what you identify as, and it is as you live, you are always going to find yourself lacking motivation. Sometimes you may have more motivation than usual, but the key point is it boils down to your motivation for life isn't to write. So it's to do something else. You're always going to have a hard time finding a way to get motivated to do the one thing you're not necessarily motivated to do. At this point, if you're still going to create stuff, it's going to boil down to willpower. I suggest buying some books on that. Number 2, priorities. As a writer, generally your priorities should be food, shelter, water, something to do with health, and writing. If your priorities don't go that way, it means that your priorities are generally some mix of stuff, and writing comes somewhere last, or somewhere down the line, farther and farther and farther away from the necessities you need to live. And no, I'm not saying that you can't have a job, because you know what? To be able to have food, water, shelter, and health, you probably need some type of income. And if you're not getting it as a writer, then that equates as job, those, necessities. So don't get me confused here. I'm not telling everybody to quit their job, or that because you have a job, you can't be a writer. That's not what I'm saying. However, my point is that if writing isn't one of your top priorities in life, then you're always going to have a hard time finding motivation. Whatever we give priority to is what we give our motivation towards. Let's talk about 3. Self-doubt. Stop doubting yourself. You know how when people say, if you're meant to do it, it'll happen? That's not the truth. If you want to do it, you can make it happen. It's just all in your intentions, the reasons behind it, and your vision to getting it done. That's it. So stop doubting yourself. Stop letting other people tell you what you can and can't do, how good you'll be, how bad you'll be, and everything in between. And most of all, stop letting yourself tell you that. If you don't believe in you, no one else will. Let me tell you about something very important in life. The only person who has to like you is you. The only cheerleader you need is you. If you want to get some shit done, then get it done and stop doubting yourself. Now go ahead and give me a thumbs up for that charity session. You're lucky I didn't charge you. Step number 4, boredom. Now, if the other ones didn't affect you at all, and it's this one specifically, you find yourself bored with your characters or your plot, this section here is probably going to be the most helpful to you. Now, usually the reasons for boredom is there's something wrong with your character, or there is something wrong with your plot. One of the 2 is not exciting you. So let's talk about ways in which you can get back into your characters or your plot, now that we've isolated that as a problem. So plot, is it working? Is it authentic? Or is it something that you want to happen? Did you read something? Did you see something? Or were you struck with inspiration of a plot that you thought was super cool and you were dying? You will kill every character possible. You'll stab every person in your way to get it done. If that's the case and you've lost interest in the plot because of it, you really have to go back and think about, is it authentic? Does it make sense? Or is it riddled with holes? Is it something that actually matters to the world that it's in? Is it a plot that's insignificant and only matters to you? Or does it matter to all of the people in the story? And lastly, is your character even invested in the plot? If you can't answer all of those questions with, yes, it's authentic, yes, it matters, yes, my characters are invested in it, and no, it's not riddled with plot holes, it's actually pretty fine, then maybe you've just outgrown the story and it's time to move on. Or maybe what's really stalling you is the character. Now, chances are when we become bored with characters, we really have to ask ourselves, are we Mary Sueing? Are we making characters who we think other people want to read instead of the characters who they're supposed to read? Do Do you know your main character? Do they even care about the world that they're in, about the plot that's happening around them? At the end of the day, sometimes characters can be a real problem because we're not listening to who they are. Instead, we're trying to create them into being somebody, and it's turning out very inauthentic. When we have inauthentic characters, we're not vested, and chances are your reader will not be vested as well. So it's very important to look into them and ask why. Why did they do this? Why do they behave this way? Why do they act this way? And by asking questions about your character, you're going to start learning about them. And generally, when you learn about somebody or something that you care about, you become motivated to learn more and to do more and to interact with them more. So that will really help finding out if they're authentic or not. Now, then again, if all of the questions you answered to this were, yes, they're authentic, and I know them really well, and you know what? They care a lot about this world and this plot. Then maybe you've outgrown the story and it's time to move on. Maybe you've lost interest in the project in general and you need to find something new. However, I'm going to say if this is a reoccurring thing that happens to you, you get this far, you do this, and then you move on to something else, it's time to look back at the other 3 isolating issues. Are you really motivated to write? Do you really care about writing beyond superficial things? Is it something you do because it makes you breathe and it's what you want to live to do? Is it a priority for you, or is it just something you do for fun on the back burner? If that's the case, then it's okay to just go from one project to the other and to lose motivation if it's not something that's necessarily important to you. Or number 3, is it self-doubt? Look at those 3 things again and really ask yourself, is it you who's standing in the way? If you're asking yourself all of these things and it's not answering the question for you, then I'm gonna say stop complaining, sit down and write. Just keep going and keep doing it. Keep asking questions about it and find other outlets for yourself. Find inspiration and motivation in other things besides writing in itself. Look in other books, look in other genres, look at television series, look at anime, look at music, look at the world around you, take walks, exercise a little, get out, go do things, experience life, and maybe that is what you need. Now, if you've reached the end of this video and none of these things are helpful to you, I'm gonna go ahead and say, you're just complaining to complain. But anyways, if you guys have any questions about anything at all, just leave them in the comments down below. And I will talk to you later. So TTYL, ta-ta for now.